Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here. So we're going to explore storytelling and the use of social media, but we're going to explore it in the context of what I believe is one of the most powerful issues of our time, and that is an issue and a solution that can create wealth for all of us while changing the lives of millions of people, their families, their communities, and their countries. And the issue we're going to focus on is girls' education. So I think all of us are pretty well convinced that education is foundational to social and economic development, no matter where you live in the world. But did you also realize that there's more than 70 million girls that are shut out of the education system today in the world? And we're depriving them of that development, but we're also depriving the world of the gifts that they can bring and the economic growth that could happen. So that's an issue that we're passionate about, and we're going to talk about here. A couple of quick statistics for you, because we have to throw this in because they don't make good storytelling. If you can increase girls' attendance in school past the 4th grade, you can increase their lifetime wages by 20%, just if you can get past the 4th grade. For a country, if they can retain girls, just 10% more girls in secondary school, they can increase GDP 3%. Now, if you look around the world today, increasing GDP 1% would be a huge gift. So 3% is really aspirational, but it's doable. And I'm going to introduce our panel here who are all passionate about storytelling, passionate about this movement, and passionate about the opportunity to really make a huge impact in this area. So at the end, we have Martha Adams, who is the producer and creative director of 10 x 10 and a film called Girl Rising, and she will elaborate on what that means in a minute. Emily Leys, who is the global director of girls' education at a wonderful organization, Room to Read, which I think needs no introduction, but you can tell us more about it. And next to me is Tamsin Smith, who's founder and president of SlipStream strategy, also very instrumental in the RED campaign, which I know all of you are very familiar with. And everyone's bios are in your handout, so we won't dwell on it. But we are going to start by asking Martha, tell us a little bit about what 10 x 10 is and what is Girls Rising.
Thank you. So 10 x 10 is a global awareness campaign centered on the importance of girls' education. So it's just what Shelly was explaining to us, that there is this very powerful correlation that exists between educating girls and a nation's progress. So when you send a girl to school, you see HIV transmission go down, you see infant mortality go down, you see gross national product go up. But the problem is that this equation this epiphany, if you will, for the last few years, for the last 10 years, has pretty much been confined in the policy world. It's been kind of inside the beltway, inside the corridors of power, but it hasn't been shared with the population at large. And so the point of 10 x 10, first and foremost, is to share this, because it's, before I started on this project and our friends and colleagues, it's not rocket science, but if you really think about it, it's truly amazing to think of how a nation's progress can really be altered for the better by simply sending girls to school. So that is the campaign. The goal of the campaign, we like to say it is change lives, change minds, change policy. So we're about raising funds, and we are about changing policy at the structural level, and we're about changing the way people think about the issue. So Girl Rising, I'm about to share a clip with you, is the centerpiece of the campaign. We're like right in the middle of trying to finish it, so it's been a couple years in the making. It tells the story of 9 girls who are fiercely determined to overcome the barriers that they face. And when I say by barriers, we're talking early marriage, child labor, slavery. These are the most dire problems that people can face on the world today. And we have found 9 stories that we think can serve as the rocket fuel for the entire campaign. So The film comes out March 6th in theaters and then on CNN in May. And I think is now a good time to show a little sneak peek.
Regrets collect like old friends, here to relive your darkest moments. I can see no way, I can see no way, and all of the ghouls come out to play.
This is how it happens. One girl follows behind the other until together they move forward towards something, a future.
Thank you. It's actually such a pleasure to share that with you. Just talking a little bit more about the trailer and Girl Rising as it pertains to social media. Normally, when I've made films in the past, I've made them for like the BBC and National Geographic or entities like that where you know that you're charged with making a television show primarily and that all these other goodies are going to go out to, say, the Smithsonian and things like that. This is the first time I have ever been a part of a true collaboration that brings together, you heard Meryl Streep's voice in this, so each chapter of the film is voiced by an internationally known actress like Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway. Each chapter is written by that country's greatest female writer. The nonprofit partners that we worked with, like Room to Read, are some of the greatest nonprofits in the world who are responsible for helping trigger the greatest success stories for girl empowerment. We have partnered with Intel. Now, Intel, I think, has 87,000 employees, and that alone, that one fact alone, means that when you combine all of this, and like our global champions like Queen Rania, we end up with a consortium of distribution before we've even pressed play or go. So, anyway, it's a privilege to be with you all today. That's for sure.
Thanks, Martha. And Martha is an award-winning and very creative and talented person. So definitely read her bio. So Emily, do you want to talk a little bit about Room to Read as a partner in the project? Because you've been instrumental in working with so many girls around the world and just having huge impacts. I've had the honor and pleasure to meet a number of girls in country, and it's just always so impressive the way you've changed their lives. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Good, thank you. Yes, I'm honored to be here, and I love the opportunity to talk about Room to Read and our work with girls' education. We are an organization focused on literacy and gender equality in education. Our global office is based in San Francisco, but we work in 11, soon to be 11 countries in Asia and Africa. And our program to support girls' education and work towards gender equality is supported over 17,000 girls. So we're really excited about our work that we've done thus far in our 12 years, and we're very, very thrilled to be part of one of the partners of 10 times 10 and be able to be part of the larger movement for girls' education internationally.
Great, thanks. Tamsin, so talk to us a little bit about how you see media playing as a vehicle for storytelling and examples you've seen, because you've been involved in some great examples of really getting the story out and making people move to action, which I think is so core to what 10 times 10 is trying to achieve.
Well, I think the video that kicked this off of the kooky guy dancing and everybody joining in is just an absolutely brilliant illustration of how to build a movement. I used to work on the Product Red campaign, and our lead there, Bono, used to say, it's not a movement if it's just me. You need other people to join in, and social media makes that so much easier. It used to be that you would have to finance a very expensive marketing campaign and develop your content and buy ad space, and nonprofits didn't have the capacity to fund that kind of thing. And now anybody, whether it's an individual girl in her hometown wanting to mobilize her friends by sharing 10 by 10 content or room to read posts and articles, it's so much easier. One of the campaigns I'm working on now, very much in the spirit of what we're talking about, is the Girl Up campaign, which is one of the initiatives that the UN Foundation has started. And the focus there is certainly the girls in the developing world that can contribute so much if they do end up getting that access to basic education, health care, freedom to marry at the time and the person of their choice. But the campaign also really focuses on the American girl and really honing and developing her leadership skills, her ability to mobilize her friends and speak out and use her voice to change the world. And I think social media has been absolutely fundamental to that. And I think the best campaigns are ones that they create that spark and they put the tools in the hands of the community, and then the community goes and takes those and runs with them, because it's a teenage girl that's going to know best how to inspire and excite her friends. And I think there may even be one of the teen advisors, Avery, here, who's absolutely brilliant illustration of a young woman who is teaching me and all the others working on the campaign how to do this stuff and how to make it fun and inspiring. Because one thing we know in the campaign world now is that if it's fun, people will do it again and again and again. It used to be that you'd have to sort of put on the hair shirt and the marching boots and go to a G8 summit, and now, just by tweeting and being on your Facebook page, you can fundamentally put a positive dent in the universe, and that's an amazing thing. And I think the Philanthro teens in this next generation that's so adept at social media is going to teach us things we can't even imagine in terms of how to leverage the content that we're developing and the programs that are already out there.
Go ahead. If anybody knows Macklemore, I was just talking earlier about I'm obsessed with his music and I want him to write a song, and that's a good example of how we should keep things. We should always come up with innovative and fun ways to engage every sector of the population. I mean, we're doing a graffiti street campaign with an artist based in Houston. His artwork that'll appear on facades will have a UR code that will take you back to our website. On that website, there will be an action platform so you can donate immediately. These are the kinds of things we're just trying to come up with.
Tamsin, can you talk to us a little bit? You were mentioning earlier about a game that you're developing, which is also huge. Gaming on the internet is just growing in leaps and bounds. And I just read an article that women in the mature markets are the biggest users of games, and they're participating, which it seems counterintuitive. Now, it's absolutely the opposite in the emerging market. But tell us a little bit about the game. What will it do? And
yeah, it's an interesting statistic which surprised me as well. But if you think about it, games are so social now, that you can be a mom at a soccer game, as I frequently am, looking to kill time, and you can play Scrabble with your friends or whatever game you're interested in. So I think a lot of the stats come from that. But this is a game that's in beta right now on an existing platform called Plyfe, Plyfe, and we're calling it the Global Good Challenge. And what it does is allows players to accrue points to win fabulous prizes, backstage with Lady Gaga, or learn anything fast with Tim Ferriss, or a ride on the America's Cup or NASCAR vehicles. And you accrue these points by taking really simple actions like watching a 10 by 10 video or answering a fact about the likelihood of a girl of 13 in the developing world being married by the age of 13. And it's very light touch, but it allows us to get emails for these participants, and they're also rewarded for socializing what they're doing. So they win points for tweeting about playing the game, or for posting on Facebook about playing the game, or sharing a video. And the hope is that this is sort of a gateway to much richer, fuller action. You know, we'll follow up on their initial foray with us. But really just trying, again, to utilize a fun platform, an accessible platform, to make it easy for people to become more engaged and do things meaningful, and also get some benefit, not only in terms of the knowledge, but also the possibility of winning a fun prize.
Well, one thing I've learned from Nick Kristof, listening to him speak over the years, is that it's really all about individual stories. That's what makes people move to action. So maybe, Emily, can you share with us a story about one of the girls and the work that you're doing? And Martha, if you want to join in on that.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been honored actually to be part of Nick Kristof and Cheryl Wooden's film, Half the Sky, that they're making on their book. And that has told the story of 3 of the girls that we support in the Mekong Delta of Vietnam. And that's been an amazing vehicle for us already to push out the message, to join the larger movement to support girls' education. And we've raised $1 million as a result as well. So it's very, very powerful. We are also, again, honored to be partnering in the Girl Rising film with the 10x10 movement. And one of the girls on our program in Nepal, whose name is Suma, has been profiled, and I just saw a beautiful 10-minute clip that was masterful storytelling about her story. We support her in Bardea district in Nepal. She spent the vast majority of her childhood in bonded labor as an indentured servant and was kept out of school. And so much of the story is about her tenacity and her perseverance and her struggle in terms of trying to get an education. And she's actually now living back with her family. She's part of the Room to Read program, and is supported along with many other girls who've come out of bonded labor, along with, as I said, over 17,000 girls around the world. But Suma's being handed, quite literally, a microphone to sing her song, has been able to really, I think, push the movement for girls' education forward, the issue of girls' education forward in a really masterful and authentic way.
This was one of those crazy YouTube moments because Room to Read introduced me to Suma as one of maybe 100 girls that I met in Nepal. She shared the story, sold at age 6, repeatedly sold 2 more times, reunited with her family at the age of 12, unable to speak her parents' language, unable to make eye contact. She was a totally broken individual. And then she entered Room to Read's program, and they gave her a life coach. They gave her a tutor. They gave her a uniform. They sent her to school, and they also taught her her rights. And so this girl went from being a broken person to somebody who is now liberating girls door to door in this region of Nepal. And when I first met her, I said, you know, you too would have been totally blown away by this beautiful girl before you. And I said, you know, how do you cope? How did you do this? And she said, well, I like to sing. And I said, okay, will you sing? Will you sing a song? And she said, yes. And she started to sing, and everybody in the square, there were construction workers, there were people on the street, everybody froze. And her voice just traveled. And of course, I didn't understand the language, but the lyrics were, you know, mother, father, why did you bother to have a daughter? When I'm treated and abused and beaten, why couldn't I not have gone to school like your sons? Well, after she was done, I looked at Rishi and I said, that's it, we're posting this on YouTube. And we did. And so it just spread, as all of you are aware of, and next thing you know, we're with Room to Read. Suma is on stage at Lincoln Center, Meryl Streep on one side, Hillary Clinton on the other, and there are tears dripping down the chins of everybody in a sold-out show. So that's the power of a good story and letting it travel like wildfire.
And I'll tell you a little backstage story, a little insider scoop. So right before Suma goes on stage at Lincoln Center, being live cast around the world, lovely Martha And others of us in backstage really started to question ourselves. What are we doing? This is a disaster. And we're all sweating backstage. And she is as calm as a cucumber because she kept telling everyone, I just want people to hear my story because I am here to represent everyone back in my village. So I'm going to go out there and sing. And she delivered. I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing, yeah.
And I think that really is part of her power, and where she gets power from is being able to advocate. Because now in Nepal, among rural girls, 64% of them are not in secondary school, as compared to 44% of rural boys not in secondary school. So there's a huge differential there. There's a huge issue there, which I think, again, really she takes power from in having the opportunity to voice it and speak up.
Tamsin, maybe talk a little bit about what you've seen go wrong. So obviously the area of social media, posting things on YouTube from a square in Nepal, Twitter, there's a lot of opportunities for corporations to make mistakes and for individuals too. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the guideposts people need to think about, or where you've seen things just really not work out?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, to me, the hallmark of any bit of success in life is authenticity. You have to know who you are, what you believe in, and act accordingly. And I think it goes for an individual as well as for an organization, whether that's a nonprofit or a private sector brand or a politician or, you know, anything. And I think, you know, in the social media space, there's a lot of excitement about it because there are many examples of, wow, these YouTube videos, you know, taking off, and this sort of hunger to be where the action is. And I think it's important just to know, you know, why you're going in. You know, if you're going in to communicate with your consumers in a deeper way, then make sure that the program you're designing actually is going to achieve that. It isn't just, you know, scratching a marketing itch. And the same for a nonprofit. You know, really, you know, does your mission need social media? Because not all of them do. So really to sort of examine your motivation and make sure that you're designing accordingly. But I mean, the one thing that, you know, this is a crowd of innovators, you know, you have to be willing to try something and learn from it. And you may try something that doesn't work, but, you know, as long as you have your sort of core purpose in place, you know, and I think to the point about storytelling, you know, if your story is authentic, it will ring true. And you may have to try a couple of ways to find the right channel to get that message across. And I think there's probably a lot more that could be done to really assist smaller nonprofits and even smaller brands in figuring out how to make those connections and leverage the tools that are available out there. But I think conferences like this can be very helpful in illustrating how tools can be used and how they can be used effectively, and how an authentic message can ring out and inspire and mobilize people more broadly.
I was just going to add to that I completely agree with what you said. And one thing that's beautiful about social media is that for filmmakers, if we share the story as we go, there's a good chance that people will respond and help us have an impact immediately, so that these aren't films made in vain, or they don't just are shown at festivals and things like that. So measuring the impact on 10 x 10 and Girl Rising is about it's very important. Let's just put it that way. I'm terrified. Every day I wake up, I'm like, oh my God. But we are seeing, I just had my house is full of Cambodians this weekend, and it's because we shared the story about Cambodia, and people contacted us and they gave money to build a 5-story school in Phnom Penh next to the dump there, and rescued 1,000 children from the dump that are now in uniforms and going to a beautiful school. So impact, how social media can lead us to having an impact and not have that happen a long time out. It can actually happen as you go. I think that's really exciting.
Absolutely. And I'm glad your house is full of Cambodians.
Something that's really worked for us in storytelling is making sure that the message is positive, making sure that it's optimistic, and that it really doesn't play on sort of a guilt trip, but that it really shows a vision of another world and really has a strong call to action in terms of what we can do differently from a place of optimism. And then again, I think that transparency and just sort of, practically where the fund's going has worked very well for us too.
I think it's also important to tell the stories of the impact that it's having on people in this country and in the developed world. Suma's story is inspiring, but think about all the people she has inspired and capturing those stories, because I think there's in a wealthier country there can be, those lives of quiet desperation, as Thoreau said, a malaise and a sense of, I read this in the newspaper, 4,400 people a day dying of a treatable, preventable disease in a continent I may never visit. You can feel helpless. But I think one of the things that we've all seen is you're not helpless. There are very simple things you can do, whether it's playing a game or making a donation or sharing a video that has real impact and notable and trackable impact. And so to even feed back the stories of whether it's a young girl in Chicago or a mom in Dubuque, to share those stories so that people get inspired by their neighbors as well as by the far off places, which also knits together the ultimate purpose in all of this, which is that we all belong to the same human family, and it's not a question of mileage, and that's the beauty of the internet. We're all so much closer, and everybody has holes in their life, whether it's through circumstance or through environment. And the more that we connect with one another and do things that serve each other, the better all of our collective lives will be.
Great. Martha, I'm going to let you have the last word. Well,
sure. I know what I'll do.
I'm just thinking, this is all evolving so quickly, and we were talking about how it's already having an impact, social media and all these new tools, and we're all learning together how to make it work and how to really collectively have a bigger impact. So you get 0 time to tell us what you want this audience to do.
Okay, I hope this is not too selfish, but Girl Rising comes out on March 8th, and we are not following a conventional model. We are working with a partner called Gather, and we are asking citizens around the world to go to our website and sign up to host a screening or attend a screening. You can do it at a church, at your school, in your living room, at the Soho House. It really doesn't matter. You can come to LA and go to the Chinese Man Theater. But the point is that I do hope you'd consider watching the film and sharing it, because that's really our starting point.
Okay, great. Well, can you please thank the panel? They're fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.